What keeps the world from falling apart? Linus Pauling answered with a theory and a vow. He gave us a language for the invisible handshake between atoms. Hybrid orbitals, that point where bonds will go. An electronegativity scale that tells who pulls harder, a way to see strength hiding inside structure. Then, when the sky filled with nuclear tests whose dust would drift into milk and bone, he turned that same precision toward peace and said, simply, stop. If you want a blueprint for courage with math behind it, this is your map. Oregon, 1910s. A boy leans over jelly jars on a kitchen table, vinegar, wire, cheap notebooks. The house is modest. The library is everywhere. He reads about crystals, the angles they prefer, the colors they throw back, and feels a tug. If you knew those angles, you could predict the shape of anything. Pasadena takes him in like a forge takes iron. Caltech lectures by day, late-night equations by lamp. Then Europe, Munich, Copenhagen, Zurich. Hard seats, thin paper, big questions. He comes home with one question carved into his mind. What is a chemical bond? Really? Not a metaphor, a physical handshake strong enough to build a world. Start with carbon. One set of bonds and it becomes diamond hard, clear, unyielding. Another set and it becomes graphite soft, slippery, a gray whisper across paper. Same element, different geometry. Pauling blends atomic orbitals S with P2 form hybrids that point exactly where bonds will form. 4 for a tetrahedron, 3 for a plane, 2 in a straight line. The map precedes the city. Structure becomes prediction. Then he quantifies the tug of war inside a bond electronegativity. Fluorine clutches. Sodium lets go. With a simple scale, he turns intuition into a tool. Students run their fingers down the periodic table and guess correctly, not by luck, but by law. It did dote. The nature of the chemical bond becomes a passport for builders. He isn't collecting trivia. He's inventing a language. Hybridization and electronegativity let you sketch a molecule before it exists. And prediction clean. Testable prediction is power, translated for leadership. Hybridization is permission to remix your skills. You are not trapped by the original shapes of your talents. Combine them. Aim them. Electronegativity is culture. Who hoards charge, who shares it where attention flows. Now, design the bond, you design the behavior. Then the mountain shifts. Life. Late 1940s, early 50s, proteins are long chains whose shapes decide their jobs. With Robert Corey and H.R. Branson, Pauling studies bond angles and hydrogen bonds until a rhythm appears. He turns a paper strip, sets the bonds like rungs, and the strip climbs into a spiral, the alpha helix. It doesn't just work, fits. Beauty here is not decoration, it's the residue of correctness. He looks at illness the same way. With colleagues, he shows sickle-cell anemia is a molecular disease. A change in hemoglobin's charge and shape makes cells distort and blood flow fail. Tragedy returns to a scale we can fix. If shape can ruin a life, shape can save one. Then DNA, momentum, confidence. A triple helix elegant on paper, wrong in reality. Across the ocean, a double helix locks into place. This is the test of character, he revises. Updates the book, changes the map to match the terrain. No conspiracy monologue, no quiet revisionism. Accuracy over ego, then forward. That's a culture move. In our work, we bet with partial information. How we correct becomes who we are. Bury mistakes and trust erodes. Publish your correction and trust compounds. If this way of seeing measure, publish revis, speaks to you, stick with us. We make films where method becomes wisdom and history becomes a manual for leadership. Meanwhile, the century growls. Bomb tests flash on distant atolls. Fallout rides the jet stream. Strontium settles in teeth. Pauling runs the numbers with the same calm. He used on bond angles and understands that to be accurate in private and silent in public is a kind of betrayal. He begins to speak. There is a price. Passports questioned. Invitations thinned. Committees whispering. But he has a partner in courage. Ava Helen. Together they turn method into movement. Petitions by the thousands. Letters that turn sieverts into stories. a book with a blunt title, No More War, and a willingness to stand under bright lights and refuse to flatter the age. He isn't naive about geopolitics. He's precise about stakes. The point is not to be against nations. It is to be for children not yet born. Treaties follow. The sky begins to quiet. And then a prize, the rarest kind given alone, arrives not for what he discovered, but for what he refused to accept. 2 Nobels, 2 fights, 1 conscience. He was not a saint. He was human, under stress, brilliant, sharp, sometimes wrong, and willing to bend back toward the evidence. He pushed vitamin C harder than many peers liked. He argued too long on some points. But when handed the century's hardest equations, how does atoms hold? How does life fold? How do we stop poisoning the sky? He answered with the same habit. Build a model, test it, revise it, and if you're right, speak loudly enough to be heard. Don't end his story with medals. End it with the grammar he gave you. Every structure you admire is held together by arrangements you cannot see. Families, companies, cities, nations, chemistry at human scale. Arrange the bonds well, and strength feels like ease. Arrange them badly, and everything shudders. If you lead, become a student of invisible forces. Name the hybrids in your work. Map the poles in your culture. Reward those who predict the shape of problems before the problems arrive. Make revision a public ritual. Aim your competence at the common good. If you build, make prediction your craft. Sketch the system first. Test small. Let beauty fit. Simplicity. Coherence be a check on truth. If you teach, make I changed my mind, because the evidence changed a badge, not a bruise. What do we owe each other? Better bonds. In matter, that means medicines and materials. In public, that means treaties and trust. At the scale of a table, that means listening long enough to let someone else's electrons tug at yours. When the world feels like it could fly apart, go back to the board, draw the atoms, draw the lines. Ask which bonds you can strengthen today, between ideas, between people, between nations. Then do the work. It will feel small. It will not be. Here's the vow. Connection has a shape you can learn. Use that knowledge to protect the future. Subscribe and share this with one builder you respect. Stay with this channel to train your eye to lead like a scientist, decide like a philosopher, and build like a patient engineer. Next, meet Barbara McClintock, the quiet genius whose jumping genes rewrote heredity. Different tools, same courage to see what others dismissed. The bond continues.